One parameter a lot of folks can easily overlook when dialing in tones in Helix amp models is the bias parameter. A lot of folks might ask, what is the bias actually doing? Well, the bias is working with the output section of the amplifier, or the power tube section, which would be controlled by the master control. So one thing to keep in mind is the lower your master control setting is, the less apparent the changes in some of these sort of deeper functions, as I call them, are going to be. They're not going to come across as much. So you'll notice here I have the master set on 10. I have all these deeper functions set on 5. Here's the tone that I'm getting playing my Gibson Les Paul. Nice little tone there, nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, the bias is actually controlling the current that is going to be hitting our power tubes in an amp in real life. And there's ways to adjust that bias. We can make it hotter by sending more current to the power tubes, or colder by sending less. Well, the thing in the real world is if we do this, we can affect the life of our tubes, and there are certain parameters that we wouldn't want to go outside of for the health of the amplifier. But in the digital world, we can do whatever we want. So one great way, instead of being afraid of these parameters, I like to go in and kind of go to extremes with them, push them to their limits, take a listen to what the parameter actually does tonally to the sound. And then by putting that in our memory banks, if we are trying to come to a particular end goal with a tone, and we remember just from our experimenting what something like the bias control does, we can go back to it and really make some interesting small tweaks to the sound that maybe we'll get something out of a particular amp model that we didn't know was in there. So let's take a listen. Here we are with the bias at its default setting of 5. Let's crank that up to 10 and see what it does to the distortion characteristics of the amp. Now let's go the other way, all the way down. So we can see this can have a dramatic effect on the outcome of the distortion characteristics of our amp. And I have a lot of people will ask me, what does bias do? And should I be touching it? And a lot of folks will say, I don't touch it because I'm kind of afraid I'm going to destroy something. Well, my answer is always, like it is for every parameter, we can always remember where we were, or save a preset with our previous settings and then experiment. So by pushing these settings to extremes, we can really learn a lot about what they do. And it's a lot more useful than somebody like myself describing to you what they do. We can go in and decide if it's the right thing for a particular situation for us. And we also get a better understanding of what a lot of these amp models are capable of outside of their default parameters. I hope that that was a helpful tip. If you are dialing in a tone and you feel you're just a little ways away from perfect on it, maybe the bias control with more subtle settings than I was showing today can be the ticket to you getting exactly what you want. I hope you enjoy the music on the way out. Links are below to the presets you're going to hear in the demo video on the way out. Thanks so much for tuning in and sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.